Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the month of February, and I have been talking about this month for a really long time because now is the time that the planetary energy is going to be the most intense. This is a true starting point for so many changes and disruptions that will make the world a different place, I think forever. So before I start, I want you to be aware that I have written out all of the transcripts that I'm about to discuss here, and they will come out in my free newsletter. If you would like to order my newsletter, you can go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org, and there you will have a transcript of all the dates and times that I'm talking about today. So moving on, first of all, I want to say this, that I want to give a warning. This is a treacherous month, and I want to give a warning in terms of that I firmly believe that we have free will. And that this is a time when we can exert our free will for the highest good to change things. Nothing is set in stone. This is a fact. But the planetary energy is so intense, and what is about to evolve and happen could be like another September 11th, because the astrological signatures are very, very similar. So let's pray and hope that this is not the result. But let me talk about what is going on. You see, Jupiter has been with K2 for quite some time, and K2 is what we consider the moksha karaka, which means spiritual liberation from this world. But K2 does indicate losses. So you see, it could go from one extreme to the other. There's a spiritual awakening happening now, or it could be that there's going to be a very explosive event this month. But with the trends and the way that people are right now, if they don't wake up, an event is inevitable because we have to wake up. This is the true awakening. So because Jupiter has been together with K2 for so long, I find that I've been having some real unusual experiences personally myself. And I asked other people if they were feeling the same thing, and come to find out it wasn't just me. What I've been experiencing lately is, to an unusual degree, I've been having feelings or thoughts or dreams all about the past. People from the past, dreams about places I grew up, my home, my house that I grew up in, people that have passed on, my parents, my friends, my sister. They have all been coming and communicating with me through my dreams, or even in my waking hours. It's just that's where my consciousness goes. So I asked some of my students and friends, I said, have you been thinking about the past more than usual lately? Have thoughts or feelings or connections from the past or dreams of the past been coming to you lately? And the result is that most everyone I asked says it's true. So I was in question, why is this happening? And what came to me is that right now, the spiritual veil between the physical world and the spiritual world is very thin. And what's happening is people that have passed on are all coming to the earth. And I believe it could be to warn us. That's what's going on. There's a great warning about what could possibly be happening this year. Now, this month will be the turning point. Why do I say all this? Because this month we have an astrological signature that is so reflective of the same astrological signature that we had in 2001, September 11th. Yes, what's going to happen is Mars is going to come into Sagittarius, and Mars is the triggering point. You see, we have these eclipses and we have these planets in these nakshatras that represent something treacherous. You see, the last time that Rahu was in Gemini in the nakshatra Ardra, and Ketu was in Sagittarius in the nakshatra of Mula, Ardra and Mula are the most destructive nakshatras. The last time that they were here was 18 and a half years ago. Where Rahu and Ketu are where the eclipses are falling. So it was in 2001. It takes 18 and a half years for the nodes to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac and return to Sagittarius and Gemini. So looking at this, I went back and then I saw what was the triggering event, because they're here in these portions of the zodiac for quite some time, for a year or so, year and a half they're in Sagittarius and Gemini. So going back, Mars was the triggering planet that caused the event on September 11, 2001. It was when Mars went into Sagittarius that it started to cross over Ketu, and that's what happened. So it's happening again. But there's other variables that also point in this direction. You see, it was last June. You can go back and listen to my June predictions, which I filmed before the month of June. And I said, whatever happens this month will be relative to what will be happening in February of 2020, because that was when Mars conjoined with Rahu in Gemini. And that month was the month that Iran started causing trouble in the Gulf of Oman. So there were the tankers, there were the planes. Things started brewing. This was where things started, turbulent effects started happening with Iran. So I said, whatever happens in June, that will be the causation of what's going to be happening in February. So now here we are in February, because what's happened is Mars has gone all through from Gemini all the way around to Sagittarius, where it's going to trigger the nodal axes of Rahu and Ketu again. Mars is the trigger. So Mars is going to really come into this point and cross over the previous eclipse degree point that we had on December 26th. December 26, 2019 was the eclipse degree point of around 9 degrees of Sagittarius. When Mars crosses the eclipse degree points that we had previously is the big trigger. This happened on September 11th, 2001, that Mars opposed exactly the previous eclipse degree that had happened in June that summer, and then in September it hit it. So when will Mars hit that eclipse degree? It's going to be February 20th and 21st. Now, there's some other variables that we're going to be talking about as well that can lead up to this. Now, going back to the Jupiter Ketu conjunction. This represents power for spiritual revelations. The last time that we had Jupiter conjunct Ketu in Sagittarius was the year of 1889. And in that year of 1889, many things happened. There was the spiritual revelation. It was called the spiritualist movement that was occurring during that time. I talk about that all the time because that was huge. It was when Madame Blavatsky had the Theosophical Society. Alice Bailey came out, Emerson, Thoreau. There was a new way of thinking about things on a spiritual level. And inventions were occurring as well. And that had a lot to do with the discovery of electromagnetic waves. But you know what else I discovered? To give you an idea of the extremes of good and bad, how this power can be used for the positive, for the great, for the good, for spiritual advancement and development, but can be used at the same time for terrible things. This is a time when the power is so great, but you can use it for good. But it will be used for bad, because those people that stay stuck in the past is going to prevent them from their spiritual growth. Those people that are fixated in injustices in the world and all of their fears of the injustices that have occurred in the world, they're going to fanatically go the other extreme of spiritual beliefs, which can be terrorism, correct? So this is extraordinary times, and this power can be used for extraordinary things. The reason why I'm saying this, another thing that I discovered that happened in 1889 was the year that Adolf Hitler was born. So you can see how the spiritualist movement, wonderful, powerful things and inventions were happening, but at the same time, this power created something that was born that was destructive. So this can be a time when something is born of great destruction again. So the past, all these instances coming from the past, what is that telling us? It's time to heal our past, because when you stay stuck in the past, you can't grow. You can't move forward. You're looking back. How can you move forward? You'll completely have a wreck if you're trying to move forward, but you're looking behind. Now it's time to look forward and use this magnificent, incredible power of the Jupiter being with Ketu in the sign of Sagittarius, which is the sign of the truth, but spiritual beliefs. And many people are going to be fixated in that past, not looking forward, and the injustices, and that's going to destroy them and can destroy us. Just remember, get out of yourself and get beyond the projected fear of the mass consciousness that's going on right now. Let me just repeat that. Get out of yourself and get beyond the projection of the mass consciousness. Because if you allow yourself to get emotionally involved in this, you'll be swept away and you will not be able to use this incredible spiritual power for its highest good. And that's what this period is here to teach us. So I want to talk about some of the other events that are going to be happening in terms of this, because this month is extraordinarily eventful and rich with astrological aspects. Well, one thing is we are going to, around the time that Mars goes into Sagittarius, which is February 7th, have a Kal Sarpa Yoga during this month. What is a Kal Sarpa Yoga? It is when all the planets are on one side of Rahu and Ketu. Now, I consider a Kal Sarpa Yoga whenever planets are conjunct Rahu or Ketu, not just within their axes, but conjunct them. And this is what will be occurring for most of the month of February. When the moon goes into Sagittarius, all the planets are on one side of Rahu and Ketu, are in the same sign. What does this predict? This intensifies everything tenfold. Kal Sarpa is when we are within the fate and destiny of the planets, are the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, that create the eclipses. So here's another indication of things really heating up and coming to a boiling point of extremes. When Mars first enters into the sign of Sagittarius, right before and right after, this will be the beginning of February. Mars will be in the late degrees of Scorpio, which is Gandanta, which means drowning, losing control. And another thing I see, Mars will be on the moon opposing the sun of Donald Trump. This is a very intense time for him. And many, many times I have predicted the events that are occurring in the United States by looking at the leaders' charts. This can be done for any country. So this even tells me that the first week of February, while Mars is Gandanta, major things are heating up because Gandanta is extreme. And the last degrees of Scorpio are the sting of the scorpion. And actually it rules poisons and disease. And now we have all sorts of viruses coming up in the world. So this is going to take a lot of people out. Another thing that I see happening this month is going to be around February 2nd. Venus is going to go into Pisces, where it will remain till February 28th. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of compassion. And when we look at Venus being there, it can represent opening the heart, bringing compassion, love, but peace. And it may be representative that there's an event that forces everyone to have to come together and be compassionate, to strive and look for peace. Because this is serious. We have to wake up. Now, February 7th is when Mars comes into the sign of Sagittarius, and it will remain in Sagittarius all the way through March 22nd. So this is critical. This will be the time when tempers will fly, people will be angry, hostile, warlike, fanatical, and yes, it deals with terrorism because Mars and Ketu will conjoin on February 25th. And the placement where they are coming together is so close to the degree of the ascendant of the United States chart that I use. And remember, when Mars and Ketu come together, around 8 to 9 degrees of Sagittarius, they are opposing 4 planets in the chart for the United States. So chances are the United States will be involved. Now I've gone over and over how many times we've had these eclipses happening with Rahu in Gemini and Ketu in Sagittarius in the nakshatras of Ardra, which represents storms. It's a storm god, and it deals with tragedy, and Mula with destruction. 4 different times I went back. September 11th was 2001, and 1982 it was the AIDS virus. So this is brewing as well, again with disease. In 1963 it was the assassination of Kennedy. in 1945, it was the bombing of Hiroshima. These are all treacherous events, and we have the possibility of this coming up again. Now, February 14th, on Valentine's Day, I notice Venus will be at the midpoint of Rahu and Ketu. It's going to be squaring the nodes, and it is in Pisces. So while Venus is in Pisces, its dispositing planet is Jupiter, which is conjunct Ketu, which represents a need for healing, for opening the heart. And yes, in your personal lives, it's time to make commitments in love. It's time to open your heart. It's time to heal issues around relationships. That's what this is meant for, and this is what it's good for. So February 23rd is when Venus will square Jupiter. It is going to be exactly an aspect to Jupiter, and that represents the need to heal again. So Venus dealing with love, Mars dealing with war, are all coming together, which to me equates for a need for peace. Now, February 20th through the 21st, I said this before, be cautious, because during this time is the time that Mars will conjoin the previous eclipse degree, which is powerful. And it's almost like, I say the eclipse degrees are like landmines. And when Mars crosses over it, either by opposition or conjunction, it is an event. And that's what I see happening. So with that, I really, really ask that you come together, you pray and meditate on peace. Meditate on the heart energy of love, because we have that power to heal now more than ever. And the heart is where the divine resides in all of us. And when you go to pray for peace and love to unfold on this planet, ask that you will be changing and transforming with this incredible, powerful energy, which can transform the world. Let me remind everyone, for the good of the planet, not for total annihilation and destruction. Because this year, not only this month is a turning point, but throughout this year, we're looking at Jupiter and Saturn crossing over Pluto, which does deal with nuclear energy. This is a possibility if we don't come together and heal our planet, heal our emotions, because remember, planet Earth is a projection of all of us, and we are all connected and we are all one, and we have to heal this situation, this anger, transmute it into love. So with that, I'd like to close. Remember, if you would like more information on me, or you would like to get my free newsletter, go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Or if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, you may go to my university website, where we discuss all these matters within our community and group here, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.